I don't know if you are like this, like I am, but I try to plan everything humanly possible, and it comes out of like this desire and need to control. Anyone else like that? Like, yeah, you've already processed like how things could go wrong. So by the time someone's picked up that it is going wrong, you're like, I already knew it, and you figured that out. Anyone, you just live life and just you all scare me, and so I'm glad you're free, I guess. I'm just kidding. And if you want to turn into your Bibles, we'll be in Luke chapter 10. So if you want to get there, you can. If not, it's gonna be on the screen. So, but here's the thing: in that desire and that need to control for me, it's really, really hard to shock me. There's been a few times, but that's why I love haunted houses. My oldest and I we're gonna go to Halloween Horror Nights this year, and I don't know how you feel about that. You might feel like it's evil and horrible, and it probably is, but. I'm really excited about it, and I laugh through haunted houses. Like that's just because I'm always anticipating where it's all coming from. I love that kind of stuff. But this one moment got me. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Our youngest child, her name is Leah. She's the kind of person who thinks through how everything impacts people. She's so like sweet and kind-hearted to everything I'm not, and she's just like she'll like govern herself if she thinks that it's going to impact someone. And for an 11-year-old to do that, it's like, oh, well, that's some good EQ. Again, not what I have. And so for this moment to actually happen, that's why it shocked me. I came in from a run one night. This was about 4 or 5 years ago, so she was little, like 6 years old. And I walk into the door, have my headphones in, I pop them out, and literally the moment I walk in, she goes, Dad, what does, and she just lays out the F-bomb right there. What does this word mean? I was like, what? She goes, says it again, what does that mean? I'm like, what are you saying? And stop saying it. Like, and my wife goes, oh yeah, she said exactly what you think she said, and I was waiting for you to come home to be able to deal with that. I was like, oh, cool. So she had heard it from school, and so I was like, oh, you feel bold enough to say that? Let's talk through that and what that means. And so we're that kind of family. Like, we're just very authentic, very real. It's like, okay. And so she had no idea. She had just heard it, and she's like, I don't know why it's a bad word. So we got to talk about that. That shocked me. For good reason, right? Your kid comes in and just lays out the F-bomb right there in front of you. That'll shock you. This one shocked me as well. This happened about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. We had just moved here, and a buddy of mine who also is a mentor, his first statement, because he came and saw where we were. It was a warehouse building. And he goes, how mad were you at your last church that you came here? That was his first statement. And it's a great church. I want everyone to know that. But in our current situation there, it was something. And it was awesome. God provided an incredible opportunity to sustain us through a season that was very difficult. And you all have been there before in your life, right? But as a church, it was not set up as a church. And he goes, man, this is crazy. Plus, we were out in Fort Valley. If you're out in Fort Valley, you're like, yeah, there's not a whole lot out there at times, right? And so that's where we were. It's the second thing he said, and this was what shocked me. He said, this will determine if the church is successful or not. He goes, do you know what's going to stop it from growing? And so, you kind of grow up doing the whole church thing, so you're like, I don't know, culture, volunteers, money, like all the things. And he goes, yeah, sure, but really, it's going to be you. And I was like, whew. I said, okay. He goes, your excessive need to control things and your inability to let go will stop God from moving in your life. And it's really hard when you have a really good friend that says something like that to you, and you're like, you have one of two reasons. You can tell them they're a liar, but if it's true, it's going to come back and hit you, right? Or you can just figure out how to process through it. And now you fast forward 1.5 years later, and we went from a handful of people, 80-ish people, into this building to now over 200. And I don't say that in a braggy way. I say that in how God's just moved in this place in like 4 or 5 months. And you know what's stopping us right now? My inability to let go. And so as I was like, developing this is not a joke. I rewrote this 3 times. Because it's really hard when you're processing through things that you're like, that hits. And it's really interesting when God starts to move in your life even, and you have to deal with the stuff that people have put in front of you, and now God is just shining a light on. And I'm just going to tell you, like, through this series, it's going to be hard. Like, some of you struggled through last week. You might struggle today. You're definitely going to struggle next week. Please come back. But this is hard, right? Like, When things aren't working the way that they're supposed to, it's really hard. And here's the hardest part about all of it. Usually it doesn't just happen overnight. You guys feel this, right? Like you just said yes to certain things. And over time, like that pressure just builds. And here's the thing, like most of you didn't choose that pressure. Like I say this to my daughter. She's now 15 and she's at a place where we can have adult conversations. Isn't that fun when your kid can get to a place? Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm going to beat myself out of them. And not real. We don't beat children. But like you didn't choose the pressure. What I tell her is like you don't always choose what happens to you, but you do have the responsibility to figure out what to do with it. And so like maybe you didn't choose the pressure, but you also just never stopped responding to it either. And it happens quickly. Like we were, it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of real. Like, I don't know, my youngest is in 5th grade, and they're like, here's 17 field trips in the last 2 weeks of school. I'm like, what in the world is happening right now? And like, we didn't choose that pressure, but we have to respond to it now, right? Like, some of it happens to you, and some of it you've just said yes to things that felt really good over time, and then it just starts to create this. This is the other thing, is that routine that you chose didn't trap you like we feel like it did. It didn't trap you. You built it one reasonable yes at a time. Like you just kept saying yes, and it felt good. It felt great. They weren't bad things, right? And then by the time you get into it, you're like sitting there going, whew, I just need to breathe. Like this happened during COVID. I was listening to a podcast about this, about the American church and COVID and the things we should have learned but didn't learn, and here we are again. And like COVID exposed a lot of things in people. Some of you are like, yes, I never want to be trapped in my house with my family again. Like that's what that exposed, right? Some of you are like, please, can we get like a year of a lockdown? I would love this right now. What it exposed in me, I was like, I can't stop. So like COVID happened, I was like, I'm gonna start building things. So I built a playground for my kids, and then it like became like 3 stories and multiple levels. It was awesome. It had a net that they could jump into. I jumped into it. It was a lot of fun. I got a shed out of it. Like I just kept building things because I'm like, we can't do church. Our church literally took a year off. And so you're sitting there, you built your identity on this job, this performance of a job, and then that's taken away, and you're sitting there going, what do I do now? And maybe you feel like that, like your routine feels like a trap. And now, like, you're not living that life, you're just stuck managing it. Like, you feel that? Like, you don't have to raise your hand. No one's calling you out on this. But, like, do you feel that sometimes? You're like, I just feel like I'm reacting to life and managing it. It gets really easy to do. It gets really normal to do because we sell it like the American dream. Like, that was the big thing for millennials. Just go to college, get into debt, you have this great job, and then the whole housing market thing happened in 2008, and you can't get jobs, and then, like things just kept happening, and so you're just stuck managing the life that you were told that you should be pursuing. And it just feels stuck. I think that's the word for it. It feels stuck. But it wasn't because you made bad decisions. It's because you just kept saying yes to life. And when they meet control, your focus shifts. Like when it's all about you trying to control the expectations, that's when your focus starts to shift. Like I felt it here when our church just started growing like crazy. I was like, oh, I just got to control more stuff. It's like that old visual of this wooden boat with a bunch of holes, and you're 10 fingers deep, and you're like now toes in, and you're just trying to control the expectation, and you can no longer focus on the things that need your focus. You're just shifting to whatever is happening at that moment. And from a desire to be loved by other people or by your community or those around you, you get into a desperate need to just manage the environment to feel safe, because what you're trying to do is just create this safe place that you're just not losing it every moment. Like, that's where I got. In fact, things got so crazy here in the first couple months of all of that. So I've been very honest about this. My ADHD was so extreme. I saw 2 different counselors to get diagnosed, which, by the way, getting diagnosed with ADHD as an adult is really fun. It's really easy. They make it super simple for you. And they make you, by the way, for someone who forgets to do things because you have ADHD, making you have 17 appointments, not easy, right? So 2 counselors both looked at me and go, how do you function in life? I'm like, that's a great question, right? Like, my life got so hectic that I got medication, got it managed, and then when this started going crazy, hadn't had a panic attack in over a year, just start having panic attacks. And I'm 40 now, and so I have this receding hairline because that's what happens. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm losing patches of my hair because the stress is so heavy that the environment just started to dictate everything else for me. And it all came down to control. So the question is, like, why are we just trying to manage and control life when that's not ever how God designed it? See, we want to start to believe this, that our well-being depends on how well we manage others' perceptions of us. Like, do you feel this? Like, you feel like the way people see you is like, oh man, he's got life together, or she's got life together, or they look like I would love to work for that person. Like, we just try to manage everyone's perceptions of us, but it's like that duck that looks calm on the water, but underneath the legs are just going crazy, right? It just becomes this routine. I'm just telling you, one of two things will happen. Either the stress and the pressure will break you, or you'll just become a product of it. They used to say this, like, you either, grow out of the environment or become the environment. That's this. And in fact, it feels like a survival mode for you, like a survival strategy, but it's actually just performance. You're just trying to show everyone else that you've got it together. And you trick yourself. You're like, I just need to get to the next thing. We did that here. We just need more volunteers. We just need to get to the next season. We just need to do, and you just keep creating it. And it just keeps going back to that good friend that hated it in the moment, that said, I would be the thing that stopped everything because I couldn't let go. And really what it comes down to, if you're honest, you lack a trust in God. Here's the cost. You ready for it? This one's going to hurt. You eventually feel you have no agency over your own life, like you have no control over your own life. You don't get to dictate anything, like the schedule controls you. Or you've handed the steering wheel to everything and everyone else around you, and guess what? You still have no control. So the thing that we're trying to control, guess what? You have no control. And that's the problem, is we trick ourselves into this, saying, I just got to get there. And it's never going to come. And your presence requires an internal focus. And this is the big piece right here. That the belief that you are responsible for your own actions and emotional state. This is, to sum this up, this is what I told my daughter. You may not be the reason why everything happened, but you are responsible now that it has happened. So if you continue to stay there, guess what? It's on us. And so as we break through this story, like you're gonna find it, because you're gonna be searching for safety. But that safety, it doesn't come from control of everything around you. This is what it comes from: resilience to navigate life as yourself, regardless of what happens. So even if you're not a Jesus follower, I just want you to know this: you have control. You have to choose to take it. And just like with God, we have control, but we have to choose to let it go. We have to choose to hand it over. And if you're going to just white knuckle it, guess what's going to continue to happen? The same thing. See, your presence, this is the sticky statement for the day, right? Your presence is a vote for the person you are becoming. So let me break this down for a second, and then we're going to get into the story. I've been very, very, very honest about this. Had zero relationship with my oldest because I sacrificed my family on the altar of church, because you just keep going like, hey, I'm doing it for the kingdom, I'm doing this. And then so you just continue to create this void. And been very honest, like I thought our relationship was done, but this piece to choose to have control and say, I'm going to show up even when it's hard, we have the best relationship we've ever had. Because I'm going to tell you, if you're sitting there going, I don't have control, you do. Your presence and what you choose to give it to is a vote for the person that you're becoming. So here's the story. Luke chapter 10. Let me break it down just a little bit before we get there. This is Mary and Martha. You're going to see their names pop up all the way through Scripture. If you've never seen this story before, this is commonly spoke to of like, hey, be like Mary, be with Jesus, don't be like Martha, don't do stuff. That's not this. If you've been told that, that's wrong. So, we'll break it down. As Jesus and his disciples, Luke chapter 10, verse 38, as they continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. So, Jewish custom back then. It's kind of like Southern hospitality. It's like this whole like Southern charm thing. Very, very relevant in South Georgia. I grew up in Orlando, Florida. That's not a thing. And it's really just like go over 80 or get ran over. Like that's really what it is. And they'll still probably flip you off on the way. And just what it is, right? So like coming here and people are like really nice. I'm like, what is this, right? This Jewish culture is Southern hospitality, but times 100. So to break it down for you, you are not asked, not assumed, but required. If someone new comes into the town, you're required to welcome them into your home, feed them, take care of them, put them up in a room. Like this is a requirement for them. So when you're looking at this story and you're like, well, Martha just doesn't care about Jesus. That's not true. Martha is doing what is the expectation. Does that sound familiar with our lives? Like there's a certain expectation that we get into routines. Well, we're going to break that down if you haven't figured that out yet. Verse 39. Her sister, Mary, sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. So you have this dichotomy. You have these two sisters. You've got one who is at the feet of Jesus, the other one who is doing the right thing. She's prepping the house. She's probably cooking dinner. She's cleaning. She's doing the hospitality to the extreme. So you have these two situations coming out. And what happens is what happens with every sibling. This happens in my house at least 5 times a week with my girls. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing, so she came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here? I'm telling you, this happens in my house all the time. This isn't fair. Her job isn't as hard as mine. We hear that all the time. If you have kids, you've probably heard this. If you grew up with siblings, you probably were a part of this, right? Like, she goes to Jesus and she goes, it's unfair. And you know, she was distracted by the big dinner. We're going to get back to that word distracted. Hold on to that. But just as my sister sits here while I do all the work, so tell her to come help me. This is like two kids going to mom and dad and going, That's what this is, right? Like, this is the eye roll. This is the yell. This is everything. And this is typically taught that Jesus comes to her and chastises her. That's not what happens. But Jesus said to her, my dear Martha, this is a statement. This isn't like a, are you freaking kidding me? That's not this. This is a statement of like, this isn't the Southern, oh, bless your heart. This is the deep, like, dig in relational equity with someone. You are worried and upset about all these details. I want you to think about your life for a moment. When you feel that come up, you feel that feeling, you feel those emotions, it's about all the things that have to get done, haven't been done, are about to come. That's what she's feeling, and Jesus sees it. There's only one thing that you should be concerned about, and the way Jesus says it, one thing worth value being concerned about. And Mary has what? Discovered it. And it will not be taken from her. So where is Mary sitting? At the feet of Jesus. And we're going to break that down here. But before we get there, Martha wasn't wrong with serving. And this is important because we need volunteers, so please serve. And no, but seriously. She was wrong to let serving become the focus. How often do we allow really, really good things to overrun our lives? You know, and it happens. I see this all the time with the church. Like we throw it up like, oh, this is just what God requires of me in this season. He doesn't require you to be so burned out that you're not helpful for anybody. He doesn't ask to take everything from you and then demand more. He doesn't give you all. Now, it's misquoted. The Bible never says the Lord will never give you more than you can handle. In fact, walking the walk of a Christian will always give you more than you can handle. But like, her intentions were not wrong. In fact, she was probably more in the right as far as expectations. But that doesn't make it right. It just made her busy. And that's the problem. And worry, for you, never announces itself as worry. it just shows up as responsibility. You notice that? Like, you just start thinking through the next thing. I just got to get to the next thing, and it feels like a responsibility, but then it just starts pounding up as worry and anxiety. And this is why Mary understands who Jesus is. So Mary has already met Jesus. Luke chapter 8, Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. Now, I want to make this very clear. The Bible's very, very big on numbers. We talked about this last week with the number 38. 7 is a big number as well. 7 days for creation. This is intentional. So, like what the word 7 means, 7 isn't a quantity, it's a condition. So it may have been 7 demons, but I don't know if Luke was like, okay, that's 1 demon, 2. That sounded like 1, but that was 2 right there, so that's 4 total. Like, I don't think that was the piece. I think what he is trying to illustrate here is she was totally, completely taken over by this entity. So like when you look back at this Jewish culture with 7, that's what that means. And so when Luke is explaining this, he's saying her entire life was taken over by these demons. And so when you experience this, the demons always know who Jesus is. And so by transference, Mary understood exactly who Jesus was. So when she's at the feet of Jesus, what she's experiencing, she's not sitting at his feet out of curiosity. She's doing it because she already knows what his presence actually does. This man has the ability to cast out demons. How else could he change my life? And so when she's sitting at the presence of Jesus and at the feet of Jesus, she realizes that work will get done, that there is importance in stuff and your obligation and responsibility, but your presence is a bigger vote on who you become. And even further, if you fast forward to Mary, she's the first one at the tomb of Jesus. So a woman consumed by evil spirits, learning at the feet of Jesus, and then at the resurrection. She was transformed. That's why the presence matters. And for Martha, this is the Hebrew word that they're talking about for she was distracted. What this means, pulled in different directions, fragmented, divided. Like Martha isn't just busy, she's scattered. And so for us, how often are we just scattered with what God's called us to? And we're just missing it because our priorities aren't aligned in the right things. And as we're pushing through, like, God, what have you called me to, and what have I taken upon myself? We become more like Martha than we do Mary. She wasn't in the wrong. She just misunderstood. See, Mary is taking the posture of a student. This isn't a passive audience to an expectation. This is someone who is making a choice with the presence that she's becoming. So how does that translate to us? This is what Jesus says. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. And what is that? Being at the presence of Jesus. So the small, repeatable things that you do on a regular basis, those are the things that form you. The things that you direct your attention to, it's what you give your presence to. So if we're doing this on a practical sense, if you're like, I don't know about this whole Jesus thing, I don't know. You know what the crazy thing is? That the couples who end up, in my office talking to me and they're like, our marriage has exploded and we're not on the same page. It didn't just happen overnight. Didn't. Never does. They didn't just show up one day and go, I guess we just don't love each other. It was intentional choices that kept driving that wedge. So practically, I do it. Get into those death scrolls on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube, whatever streaming service you want. And before you know it, you're in it for an hour, and it's like, your kid is right there. Your spouse is right there. And you're like, well, I just need a moment. And you've spent your whole life choosing who gets your presence. At work, what people may see with you, but where you put your presence and attention to might be something totally different. Your friends. Like, this has so much implication not only in our spiritual life, but our regular lives as well. So your presence is a vote for the person that you are becoming. So every time you show up for your kid, guess what? Your presence is a vote for the person that you're becoming and who they're becoming. When you show up for your spouse, your presence is a vote for the person that you are becoming. When you show up for your friends, your presence is a vote for the person you are becoming. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I just don't know if my relationship with God is clicking, guess what? I can usually show this. Your presence is a vote to that. And I get it. ADHD, sitting in quiet time for me is really tough. Because I'll sit there for 5 minutes and then like a scroll will move and I'm like, that's awesome. And then I'll forget what I'm even reading. I get it. But guess what? Your presence is a vote for the person that you're becoming. And Mary understood this from the very beginning. She wasn't shoving off what needed to be done. She was putting her expectations where they needed to be. Your presence is a vote for the person that you're becoming. And you don't have to earn it out of stillness, but that's where it starts. You don't have to earn it out of showing up to church, but I'm going to tell you that's where it starts. You don't have to earn it out of community with others in a small group or, and it doesn't have to be serving in a church, but serving other people, but that's where it starts. Because vote with your presence. Because your presence actually matters to where it goes up this week. So this week, if it's 5 minutes with God, 5 minutes with God. If it's 10 minutes with God, 10 minutes with God. You got to start somewhere with your presence. But I'm going to tell you, if you're sitting there and you're like, I just want a better relationship with my kid. Guess what? Your presence is a vote for what you're becoming. For like, I just want a better relationship with your presence is a vote for where that's going. If you're sitting there and you're like, I just want life to be different. Your presence is a vote for where you are going. For Mary, she didn't accidentally become that person. She voted for it. So the question is, what are you voting for? Not who, but what? What are you voting for? Are you voting for your presence, for who you're becoming? Or are you just allowing life to happen to you? So if you're coming in here like, I'm just so anxious, I'm so worried, I don't know what things are going to do. You're going to get sick of it, but your presence is a vote for the person you're becoming. So if you want to continue to just go through the cycle and the routine of life, continue showing up just like that. If you want things to change, you are responsible for that change. And your presence is a vote for who you're becoming. I'd love to pray for you. God, we're just so grateful for the opportunities to see these moments from an outside perspective, God. Because what an awesome opportunity to just look at life differently. To look at things to go, God, maybe we've been putting our attention and our energy into the wrong things sometimes. And they're not bad things usually, God, but they are things that will control who we are and who we're becoming. So God, I pray that even if this week, for most of us, is 5 or 10 minutes in the presence of what you've called us to, I pray that we take those moments, God. And I pray that as we continue through, that you just continue to work in such a way, God, that we vote with our presence with you. And we bring others with us, God. We give all these things to you. In your name we pray. Amen.